Hey Titans, how are you? It's Miss Langridge, and I'm going to talk you through our Lesson 18 of the Ready Book. This is a review from different lessons we've done throughout the school year, so I'm pretty confident that you already know a lot of this stuff. If you'll look, it's about finding information from multiple sources. So multiple means more than one or several kinds of sources. If you look at our learning target, it says that we want to know how to get information from many sources that can help you answer questions, solve problems, and gather information quickly. And we have to do that day to day and in the real world. Even with what we're going through now, we wouldn't rely on just one source. We're searching articles and research and the CDC. We're searching YouTube. We're searching social media to kind of put together and infer what's really going on in the world around us. And so I think that this is a very relevant lesson for our times. If you look here, it says you want to find things from different sources. Sometimes we use print sources, which is paper, and sometimes we use digital sources. And that's what we use often most times these days. In our little cartoon, you can see we have a gentleman here, and we have a group of family here. So let's see what's going on. It says in the cartoon below, okay, the whole family wants to get to a theme park. Circle the sources of information they will use to get there. So I'm going to give you a second to kind of look over through the picture. What sources do you think that they are going to use to get to the theme park that they want to go to? All right. How many of you said theme park that they would use the sign? All right. Did anybody notice the map in her hand? That would be a print source. Did anyone notice the laptop or Chromebook in his hand? That could be a digital source. And then super tiny over here, she's got a cell phone. So how many of you thought of that? Something that may not even be pictured, GPS devices. All right. So the same strategy we just applied to this picture, reading a picture, is what you'll use to apply to passages and text. You would look for the sign, the map, the computer, smartphone, and then say what she may be able to, what they, the family, may be able to use to find the answers. So we're going to scroll on down and try to apply this now to a passage. The same strategies, but to a passage. It says, "What's your body language?" by Mario Ehlers. People don't always tell you what they're thinking, but body language often tells us quite a lot. For example, if a person were to drum her fingers, she's probably impatient. If a person shreds paper while he is talking, he might be nervous. Even a person's eyes can give you information about what's going on in his or her mind. Be observant, and you might find out a lot about your classmates. So you can look at the pictures here. Just looking at their body language, you may be able to tell they're bored. And I can't see your body language right now. I hope you don't look like this. And I hope you don't look nervous. And I hope you're not angry today. All right. I found this part very interesting. It says it's in the eyes. Body language isn't just how we stand, sit, or move our bodies. You can find out so much information from facial expressions, especially eyes. If someone blinks a lot, he might be very nervous. If someone's eyes dart to their right, it's possible they're lying. Such eye-catching movements can tell you a lot about what someone might be thinking or feeling at any given moment. So you can look at their eyes. Again, it said if they were blinking a lot, that they might be, nervous. And if they dart to the right, they may even be lying. So you want to try this out on some folks. Watch their eyes and see if you can tell what's going on, if they're being telling the truth or if they're being sketchy. So putting that together in a table is very important because it kind of helps you organize your ideas. You probably don't have a paper and pencil with you right now. If you do, you could just jot the table down That's what I like to do because I'm old school like that. But if you, you could even insert a table into a doc where you would have 2 columns and you would have 4 rows, or you can just kind of listen as I talk, and however works best for you is what we're going to go with. So it says complete the chart with below with information from each source. And what you would be doing here is looking at both passages. So first we would go to what's your body language, and they already gave us one answer. It says drumming fingers could show impatience. So I would go back up to the what's your body language and look for 2 more key details. We had drum her fingers, means she's impatient probably. I would say that the next part I would write is shreds a paper cup while he's talking. He might be nervous. And I could sum that up for myself. It may not even be a paper cup in someone's hand. What's something they may hold? I have a friend who always takes the straw out of the paper, and then they will just twist and twist that straw paper while they're thinking or talking. It's like they've got to be fidgeting with their fingers. So not everybody walks around with a paper cup, but like you might chew on a pencil. Would not recommend that, but just things that show they're nervous. Look at their body language. But anyway, for typing purposes, I would write or type from the passage, a person shreds a paper cup while he was talking. If they do that, they might be nervous. And then the third thing would be, let's see, it says even a person's eyes can give you information about what's going on in his or her mind. So in the table, that's what I would write down. And then where it says to look for key details, it's in the eyes, I would go back to the passage of it's in the eyes. And let's look for some key details. Body language isn't just how we stand, sit, or move our bodies. I would say that's the main idea and not the key details of this passage. And to continue with the main idea, the second sentence, you can find so much information from facial expressions, especially the eyes. I would label that as a main idea. But for details, I would say if someone blinks a lot, he might be very nervous, and I would write that in one of my boxes. I would also write if they dart their eyes to the right, it's possible they're lying. And then I would write such eye-catching movements can tell you a lot about what someone might be thinking or feeling at any given moment. And that's just how I would summarize and break down the passages. So number 2, talk. What important ideas are found in what's your body language? And it's in the eyes. So I think we did a good job talking that out into these boxes. So I would say we answered that question. And what I may add is something that they both had in common. Let me see if they're going to ask us that before I do that. The short response. The topic of each source is body language, so that's what they're both about. But what specific ideas appear? Okay, they were going where I was going. I wanted to kind of think about what happened, what was said in both sources. That was the same. Did you guys notice something similar in both sources that they talked about? I did. They both talked about, even in the first passage, it talks about the person's eyes can give you so much information about what's going on. And they talked about that in both What's Your Body Language, and they talked about that in It's in the Eyes. So when I'm doing a short response, we want to remember to race. And I would say, to restate this question, let's see, but what specific ideas appear in both sources? I would say something like, in both sources, a specific idea appears. In the first source, and I would list the title of that source, What's Your Body Language? They state, and then I may quote, even a person's eyes can give you information about what's going on in his or her mind. So I would quote that in my response, and then I would say, similarly, It's in the Eyes, I would say that they also said body language is not just how we stand, sit, or move our bodies. You can find out so much information from facial expressions. So I would definitely reiterate that again. So we restated the question, and then we cited our sources, and I would then explain why I thought that those were similar ideas. And I would explain that with a little bit maybe of my own personal experience with watching people. I mean, as a teacher, it's obvious that we have to watch facial expressions on students to see if they're getting what we're saying or if we're not. So that makes it today really difficult for me because I'm used to standing here talking with you, and I can tell by your body language how you are responding or understanding, or if you need help or if you have questions. And so that in the real world shows me just how important it is to be face-to-face when we can. But since we can't, we do the best that we can do. So you would add, for your short response, you would add your own personal adage or your personal thoughts on that. Because like I've been telling you guys, when you're responding to text, you want to have about half of your information from the passages and half from yourself to show you do understand what you're reading and that you can apply that to your own life. It also has a little hint over here, and I agree with this hint. Always study the pictures and captions. They can provide as much useful information as text. So I'm a visual learner, and I agree with that. The pictures definitely helped me visualize what the students were feeling and that the eyes going to the left or right. Okay, so your task is to continue with this assignment forward on your own. You're going to have a couple of passages to apply this to. Now, the passages we did were shorter, but if you can do these steps with a little bit, you can do it with a lot bit, right? We talk about that all the time. You have the steps, you have the knowledge, so you're going to go through in your Google Classroom. There's a Google form that you'll fill out, and then your reading teacher and Mr. Ledford will help assess those so we can get back to you how you're doing on those passages. They also all look extremely interesting to me. I'm pretty fascinated with how we communicate. And then some of it is how animals communicate. So you'll go back into Google Classroom and you can see this was just Ready Lesson 18. So it's just for week 1. And then you'll click on this Google form and you'll fill it out throughout as needed. This particular Google form is just for my reading homeroom, Miss Langridge's reading homeroom. If you're from another homeroom, you'll go into theirs and do that. So I really hope you enjoy the passages, you learn something cool, and that you let your parents or friends at home know something cool that you're learning. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and see you later, Titans. Use your head, heart, and hands.